Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by lynda.com.
Today on Variant, I give you the history of Arsenal. Welcome to Variant. We love comics more than I would love to see Green Lantern make an appearance on CW's Arrow or Flash TV show. I'm your host, Arris. Anyone who watches Arrow knows who Arsenal/Roy Harper is, meaning you also know how cool of a character he is. He actually made it into my number 5 spot on my best comic book sidekicks episode, which you can find here in the link below. So since he's one of my favorite comic book sidekicks, and you all probably want to know more about him because he's such a big part of the Arrow TV show, I'm going to break down his comic book roots. Roy Harper first appeared in More Fun Comics issue 73 in November of 1941 as Green Arrow's sidekick Speedy. He's also had 2 other superhero names over the years besides Speedy, Arsenal and Red Arrow. He first appeared as Arsenal in Teen Titans issue 99, and first appeared as Red Arrow in Kingdom Come issue 2, which was an Elseworld story. In the main continuity, he first appeared as Red Arrow in Justice League of America volume 2 issue 7. But he is now going by Arsenal again in DC's New 52 and the Arrow TV show. With that said, let's take a look at Roy's comic book origin. Roy's father, a forest ranger, died in a forest fire on a Navajo reservation when Roy was very young. Roy was then taken in by a Navajo medicine man named Bravebow because Roy's father had saved his life. Bravebow taught Roy archery and marksmanship. As Roy got older, he came to idolize the Green Arrow, who was a modern-day Robin Hood and superhero. In order to prove himself that he was a worthy archer, Roy entered into an archery contest. Although he ultimately lost, the Green Arrow took notice of the young boy and decided to make him his partner, helping Roy's development as an archer. He adopted the name Speedy for the fact that he was faster than Green Arrow himself. Eventually, Roy became Oliver Queen's ward after Bravebow's death. As many of us comic book fans know, Speedy would eventually join the Teen Titans. Speedy was initially a successful member and began dating Donna Troy. Sometime later, however, Roy's fortune took a turn for the worse. The Teen Titans disbanded, Roy and Donna broke up, and Green Arrow lost his fortune and began neglecting Roy. While Green Arrow was away on a cross-country adventure with Green Lantern and Black Canary, Roy became addicted to heroin in the award-winning iconic story Snowbirds Don't Fly, which took place in Green Lantern Volume 2 in issues 85 and 86 in September and November of 1971. Once Roy's secret was discovered, Green Arrow angrily punched him and threw Roy out on the street. Green Lantern later found him and left him in the care of Black Canary, who stayed by his side while he went through withdrawals. Soon after, he had a confrontation with Green Arrow that caused the two of them to stop working together. In addition to some brief adventures with later incarnations of the Titans in the 1980s, Roy also served as a government agent for a federal agency and as a private investigator. It was during this time he had an affair with a woman named Cheshire and ended up having a daughter with her named Leia, who she left in Roy's care. He also went on a single mission with the Suicide Squad. Roy Harper later fully returned to the Teen Titans and was appointed leader by Sarge Steele. At this time, he adopted the new identity Arsenal, now equipped with a vast array of high-tech weaponry. When the original members of this latest incarnation of the Titans left the team, he gathered new members and led them until the team disbanded. During Infinite Crisis, Arsenal served as leader of the Outsiders while raising Leon as a single father. He was among the heroes gathered to defend Metropolis from an invasion by the secret society of supervillains. 1 year later, Roy Harper attempted to keep the Outsiders running, but unfortunately they found themselves handling low-level criminals and making little difference in the world. Soon after Roy left the team, leaving Nightwing in charge, Roy was approached by Hal Jordan with membership in the new Justice League. While in battle, Hal referred to him as Red Arrow in an attempt to stop himself from revealing Roy's name, despite the fact that Roy's identity had been publicly known for some time already. Roy accepted membership in the League and officially adopted the identity Red Arrow, justifying it as a final coming of age in outgrowing his troubled relationship with his adopted father Oliver Queen, aka Green Arrow. Roy began dating his teammate Hawkgirl, however the two ended their relationship and Roy left the Justice League following a disastrous confrontation with the Shadow Cabinet. Following Bruce Wayne's apparent death in Final Crisis, Roy returns to the League after discovering that Hal Jordan and the Justice League have been hunting down and torturing criminals. Roy and Green Arrow managed to settle their differences and work together, but things started to fall apart as Prometheus assaults Roy, cutting off his right arm with a poison nanite-laced blade. He then has the Electrocutioner set off a device to destroy Star City, killing thousands, including young Leon. Roy wakes up several days later pissed about his current condition and Leon's death, taking an angrier stance towards the world. The flesh-eating nanites still dormant in his stump prevent him from getting a permanent prosthetic. He is given a removable enhanced artificial limb built by Cyborg and Dr. Midnight. The prosthetic limb is built to work around the contaminated nerve endings but increases his pain. His pain and the survivor's guilt from Leon's death bring Roy back to his former drug addiction, overdosing on painkillers and permanently locked in a state of delusional paranoia. Roy regresses to his his former identity of Arsenal, lashing out against his former friends and driving away his extended family, blaming Green Arrow for having stolen his vengeance by killing Prometheus. After a bitter meeting with Cheshire, Roy is unable to release the pent-up frustration from the loss of his arm and the death of his daughter. Roy leaves Cheshire behind, hallucinating that a dead cat is his daughter, taking out his anger against a gang of drug dealers and stealing from them to fuel his addiction. Jumping ahead a bit, Cheshire asks Roy to join her in a plot to kill Deathstroke. She manages to do so by holding Lian's death over his head. While it appears that he wished to join Deathstroke's Teen Titans and does so, the truth is that it's part of Cheshire's plan to kill Deathstroke. Deathstroke reveals to them that he had created a healing machine called Methuselah for his dying son Jericho. After healing Jericho, Deathstroke claims that the machine can also resurrect the dead, offering Roy and Cheshire a chance to revive their daughter Lian. Cheshire accepts, but Roy refuses, finally realizing that he has just been punishing himself for his daughter's death all this time, and that Lian is in a better place now. Long story short, Roy lets Deathstroke go and decides to form a new team of Titans. This brings us all the way to DC's New 52 continuity. In the New 52 relaunch, DC continuity was revamped. Roy Harper subsequently appears in the series Red Hood and the Outlaws, where Roy's history is altered, including Lian's existence, and he now has his right arm back. Roy's appearance changed drastically in the relaunch, as he now wears his hair longer than before and has highly detailed tattoos on both arms. In his Arsenal outfit, he wears a variety of different baseball caps, but besides that and the loss of his knife, he still has the same basic design, only with a smaller vest and 2 quivers instead of 1. He acts as a humorous character with a lighter view on things, even in the middle of combat, though he is very serious when he wants to be. He has never been a father, but is still a recovering addict, with Killer Croc as a sponsor in a 12-step program. He became a freelance freedom fighter before teaming up with Jason Todd, and considers Todd his only friend. Now you may be asking, how did the Outlaws form in the New 52? While following some advice from Red Hood, Roy Harper goes into mercenary work and gets himself into deep trouble in the Middle Eastern country of Korak. Red Hood comes to his aid along with Starfire, unintentionally laying the groundwork for an informal team called the Outlaws. And just like that, the Outlaws were formed. And yes, in the New 52, Roy was Green Arrow's sidekick, but Roy was kicked out of this position, and Oliver took the stocks that he gave him within Q-Corps, leaving him to his own devices. Although Roy doesn't have any superpowers, he is one of the best marksmen in the world after being trained by Green Arrow. His specialty weapon is the longbow, which he's been using since he started as Speedy when he was 13. He's able to shoot a target from 200 meters away easily. In his time as Arsenal, he used more handheld weapons than just a bow. He's used guns, lasers, amongst other things, and showed he can use almost anything as a weapon. Roy is also a brilliant swordsman after training with Green Arrow. He has been shown to be able to use knives and swords. Roy is a very decent hand-to-hand fighter, although he is nowhere near the standard of his friend Dick Grayson. He is still a decent level fighter, and he used to spar with Dick Grayson on a regular basis when they were in the Teen Titans. But now that I've summed up Roy Harper's history over the years, I want to give you some reading recommendations. You have Red Hood and the Outlaws Volume 1 Redemption, Red Hood and the Outlaws Volume 2 Starfire, Red Hood and the Outlaws Volume 3 Death of the Family, Justice League The Rise of Arsenal, More Fun Comics Issue 73, and Kingdom Come, just to name a few. Lynda.com is an online learning company with more than 77,000 video tutorials that teach software, creative, and business skills. Memberships start at $25 per month and provides an unlimited 24/7 access to top quality video courses taught by expert instructors with real-world experience. Learn anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace, from bite-sized tutorials to comprehensive courses in web design, programming design, photography, business, audio and video, and 3D and animation. And you can learn on the go with our optimized mobile site or free iPhone and iPad app for members. Try Lynda.com free for 7 days by visiting lynda.com/variants to get some knowledge in your brain. First up, for Wednesday, March 4th, we have all new Hawkeye issue 1. Hawkeye returns in an all-new series featuring writer Jeff Lemire in his Marvel debut. This book will bring a fresh new look into the life of Hawkeye. Now we have Princess Leia issue 1. This book will run parallel to the main Star Wars title, giving us a more in-depth look at Princess Leia and the Rebels. It's also being written by one of my all-time favorite comic book writers, Mark Waid. Here we have Grayson issue 8. Grayson is about to fly over this issue's cliffhanger with no safety net. You won't believe what happens. And finally, we have Detective Comics issue 40. Can Batman save Gotham as anarchy takes over? Of course he can, but it's fun to read how. But until next week, you can always like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones, and we can chit and we can chat, and it'll be fun times. But I'll see you guys next week when I talk about all things comics.
Hey Arris, my favorite comic book inspired TV show was probably Avengers United They Stand. I can't even say that without laughing. That cartoon sucked. My actual favorite is probably the X-Men 90s cartoon.
My favorite comic book based cartoon series. I gotta think about this one. Batman the Animated Series.
I'd say either Batman the Animated Series or Static Shock.
Hello, Variant.
My favorite comic book TV show is
Spectacular Spider-Man.
My favorite cartoon series has gotta be Ultimate Spider-Man because it's funny and cool.
Batman, the animated series. I just had shoulder surgery about a month ago, and during my downtime I watched all 4 seasons.
So my top 3 are Spider-Man from MTV, Teen Titans, and of course, Batman Beyond.